All right, y'all, Uncommon NASA in the place to be. I am going to, and we are going to look at all of the Uncommon Records releases for 2025. Right now, I just want to talk about what we laid down. Some of it has a lot to do with what we're going to do in the future. Usually when I start these, I go in chronological order. This year is very different. I don't want to go in chronological order because I want to start with, first and foremost, June Classic's Music to My Eyes. June Classic, of course, as most people know, passed away this year. Rest in peace to June Classic. I don't even, in this format, I don't even know what to say beyond what I've said publicly in the past. It's obviously very shocking and unexpected. Having worked with June, I know that he would want me to represent this CD and this album as much as I possibly could, refer you to the rest of his amazing catalog, which is years and albums deep at his own Bandcamp. But as far as this goes, this was our main frontline first time release for the year, having no idea obviously that anything like that could ever happen. We worked on this for several years on and off. When you're working on music, it's like, boom, you knock out 3-4 songs and then you get back into life and then you come back and you do more. And that's very much how this record came together. I just want to highlight the artwork first. Like, let's just start with the packaging, right? First of all, graphically put together by DJ Jazz Pants. Shout out to him. Incredible job as usual. I definitely want to call attention to Zamari Bobby, who did this cover image. This is an actual painting, a beautiful piece from his niece, just incredible work. And when he sent this to me with the title, just the raw artwork with the title, I was like, that is 110% perfect. And it really is. And I can't say enough about it and like what came together. I actually put together the front cover myself, and then Jazz Pants did an amazing job laying out the rest of it. To match sort of the theme that I started. This comes with a full lyric book, which also has another piece, another painting from Zamari. So something we were looking at to be the cover at one point. But like I said, once this painting was created and June saw it, it was just no doubt that this was the one to go with for the cover. Let's go through it, completely, all the lyrics for the whole album, including all the cameos like from myself and Short Fuse and Past Tense. All lyrics are transcribed here. This record does feature myself and Fuze as Guillotine Crowns. I have another additional feature just as myself. Past Tense is on the record. Furious P did cuts for FEB. We worked our asses off on this record, and like I said, I can't let it go without this being promoted and mentioned at the top of this video. Shout out to everybody that's purchased this. We don't do large pressings of anybody's work, and we sold out of our short run very quickly, put in another order. Stuart Lee kind of pacing through that as well. And I just want to say thank you to everybody that's shown support, everybody that reached out to me when this, terrible event happened. I saw June for the last time in person when he was alive, when we shot the video for Once Before. And that was sort of our push single the day of the release, dropped the video. I'm happy to say, at the very least, I was able to give him these CDs. That day I gave him 4 copies of the CD, and, he was really amped off of seeing it the way it came out. He got to see the video fully edited and finished. He was really digging that. We kind of learned ourselves, like, I certainly learned myself how to shoot and edit a video that day. I've shot videos before. I've never fully edited a video from beginning to end. And this was the first time I did that with Once Before. And regardless of what happened, like the fact that he was really happy with it gave me such a boost. And I was like ready to do more videos and ready to follow up. And I mean, shit, we probably would have made another video for this album together, maybe in the new year or even before. So we were amped about it. And I'm just really glad that he was amped about everything that we did. And that's all I could say. Again, usually I go chronologically. Since we're on CDs, I'm just going to stay with CDs because a lot of the digital singles are leading to something that I want to tease for 2026 anyway. But another great release that we were able to put together this year comes from the catalog of Masai. And so this is a reissue of the Kitchen Chemistry album Transit. There's so much going on with this CD for me to describe. Back in the day when this originally came out, Masai wanted to have an alias-driven project. The music on Transit is a little bit different from the norm of what he was doing at that time. And he just wanted an alias to work with and to kind of be creative with. And so we released that record as Kitchen Chemistry, and just, it was a digital release, and I think it was 2010 or so, and we just went with it. And if people knew, they knew. If they didn't, they didn't. And I mean, if you're a Masai Bay fan, you could tell it's his voice. But if you had only heard the name Masai and then you got hit with Kitchen Chemistry, that was just what it was. So that was a great experience at the time, because the music was so far ahead that, like, this is, like I said in the forward, its time is now, like it's on point in its own way. And speaking of that forward, I mean, you can see I did write an entire piece. Being the label owner that originally put this out, I had a lot to say about just the craftsmanship on this and our original cycle releasing it, and how we feel about it now. And like I said, if you look at it now, you can see the concept that myself and DJ Jazz Pants, once again, shout out to him, came up with for the way that this would be presented. And, if you own it, and maybe, I just want to run through this for you if you already own it. If not, of course, for sale, uncommonnasa.com, uncommonrecords.bandcamp.com. But, you can see there's sort of like tape over there where it says Masai Bay, and it says like question mark. So the concept for this entire thing, you can see the back is sort of like a cassette J card, is that this is a found record. That's how we did the artwork. Like, this is just somebody going through their old stuff from college or from high school or from back in the days, and finds this and is like, oh man, like I can't believe I haven't heard this in years. And this is sort of like the concept for the way that we did the artwork, is like, this is like almost like found footage as an album. But the key thing about Kitchen Chemistry's Transit is he actually had an entire Transit 2 sequel. I think it was only available briefly, if at all. And so what we did with the CD is we combined the two, to be the deluxe edition. So on the back, you'll see the track list on the J card of the original album, and then underneath you can see the credits for the sequel. And, again, we've got one of the promo photos that he had from that era with the goggles, which was like the Kitchen Chemistry look, with the masking tape, so everything is kind of put together in that way. Of course, the loyalty star, you're going to see this on all of our releases. That's what it is. That's uncommon. When you see that, you know what you're getting. That's what it is. That's what you see. That's how you know it's uncommon. When you see that loyalty star, that means we're dedicated to this product, and the people that buy it are dedicated to the music, and that's our bond. So that's every release, but yeah, we doctor it up, custom colors. But anyway, I could geek out on this stuff all day, because a lot of thought goes into our presentation, our packages, everything, how we want it to look, and how it sounds, of course, in terms of coming from this studio, coming from me as an engineer. If nothing else, like, that's a guarantee from Uncommon that every effort has been made to make something sound good, make something look good. These are all the original mixes. I did a remastering of the entire thing. That's this. These are still available. Grab them while they're still there. Again, uncommonnasa.com, uncommonrecords.bandcamp.com. In addition to those two CDs, we did a ton of digital singles and digital releases. I'm going to run through those now. We started the year with one of my own singles. It's called Do You Love? One of the core things that we're doing at Uncommon that started this year is started toward the end of last year, actually, but it really was key to what we're doing this year, is we're all working on music together. June, that's why FEB came out so early ahead of the album. Past Tense, Short Fuse, myself, Banana, but any artist that's on the label, all my side groups with all those people, we're actively working on music all the time. And so my thing was, why are we waiting and waiting and waiting to release all this stuff? Certain songs get done so early in the process, and then they're waiting on the rest of the album to be done. And, time is short. If we've got something we feel really good about, let's put it out right away. Let's get a cover. Let's get it out there digitally. Let's make this happen. Let's share it with the people. And if it ends up fitting the album that it was made for, you know, a year and a half, 6 months later, then that's great. If it doesn't, then that's also fine too. Then it's just a piece of music that's out there that shows the people that fuck with us, like, the path musically of how we got to the eventual album that we did make. You know, we're an album-based label, we always have been, but we've still got to actually get music out there for our own benefit, you know, for us to feel good about what we're doing live in the moment. Maybe we get some feedback or some reaction that gives us a confidence boost, or maybe a constructive correction to be like, oh, you know what, maybe we should do stuff more like this or whatever. But that was one of the key tenets of what we were trying to do this year. And so Do You Love sort of started that. At least this year it did. It was a single that was important because I was losing my shit after the election and just really was not happy with, I mean, who could be happy with the direction of how the election turned out? And a lot of that came from a dual discontent with the music business and the music industry and streaming and the ability to actually, like, you know, make waves, make a name for yourself, be known, be relevant. Like, all those things sort of are related, at least in the artist's mind. You know what I'm saying? And when I say I don't just mean me, I'm not speaking to myself in the third person. I mean, in any artist's mind, I think your own creative frustrations tie in with the political frustrations at the same time. And that's sort of what Do You Love is about. After Do You Love, as I mentioned before, we did put out the FEB single from Junclassic. After that, I ended up putting out the instrumentals for Sidewalk, Chalk, Parade Day, Rain, which was an album I produced for Past Tense in 2024. So that's available digitally. Go and check those out. One thing I didn't mention when I was talking about the CD is this CD collects both Transit and Transit 2, but digitally, Transit is one album and Transit 2 is another album. There are two separate streaming pieces. They have slightly different, like, inverse artwork that we worked on for the digital versions, and there were several singles. We do industry talk here, but we do the waterfall technique in terms of digital singles on streaming services, where we'll put out a single and then put out the next single with the first single on it, and the next single with the two singles, and then the album with all those singles. And that's more of a music business video for my other channel, if I ever want to talk about stuff like that, which who knows if I do. But yeah, so lots of Transit singles, lots of Kitschy Khemistry on streaming across the summer. When we came out of the summer, released, like, our first posse cut in I don't know how long, where I remixed Rust, which was another, I mentioned this before, this was a video that I had shot when I went to Chicago, like, late in 2023, I think it was. And we released that video as part of the promotion for I Once Dreamt of Berlin, which was Short Fuze's last EP that he had done with a producer named Foremost. That came out in 2024. Remixed it for 2025, and then added on top of mine and Short Fuze's original verses, Past Tense, Duke01 from Last Sons, and Junclassic to that remix, and put that out as a digital single. And that was a really great experience to just have all of us together on one track. And again, like, it's been a while. For me, a posse cut is 4 or more MCs. When you have 3, it's just kind of like a big collab. But, you know, that was 5 of us, and just really cool. And I really had a lot of fun working on that and then getting it out there. I did the artwork for that too, so very cool stuff. Another posse cut that I remixed, Origin Stories. The remix actually came out in April or thereabouts. I try, if you haven't noticed, to pay respect to Gajah. Rest in peace to Gajah, but I try to pay respect to him as much as I can for as long as I can by doing something, whether it's video footage or remix or something around the time when he passed. I feel like it's my place to do that at that time, because that's not ever going to be seen as a positive time. So if I could put something out, or again, like, whether it's just video footage, like a couple years ago I put out some video footage of us talking in the car and him performing, like, from one of our, you know, tour dates. You know, this past year I did this remix of a posse cut that he's on. Just trying to find something to kind of give a little bit of solace, a little bit of, like, you know, peace to all of us that have lost Gajah on this plane. And so, in any case, Origin Stories was an original posse cut produced by Count Fifth on my City at School album that came out on Man Bites Dog Records. I did a remix that was a lot more synthesizer driven and just, gritty and just hard drums. And I really enjoyed doing that because I remember working with Gajah and like in a lot of the stuff that he put out with some other producers, some other great producers like Awkward and Chrono Triggers and people like that. I can go on and on. He loves synthesizer stuff. I was able to like kind of get that fat, synthy kind of thing going for this song, and that's a salute to him too in and of itself. And so Origin Stories, it's me, it's Gajah, it's Duke01 from Last Sons and Short Fuse, and it's Furious P from Last Sons and Shortrock. He's on that too. I did a cool thing on the original mix that I preserved on the acapella where I basically put P in one ear and Shortrock in another and like let them kind of trade off. So if you're listening, you can check that out. Finally, to end the year, right around Yule Prague season, what used to be Yule Prague season, but in our hearts is still Yule Prague season, put out a single from Chaz Kangas. Shout out to Chaz. As you can see in the Bandcamp notes and all that, the story of how this single came together is just as interesting as anything else about it. And long story short, if you haven't checked it out, it's called Red Pen Corrections. It's a cool song because I had fun with it. He had fun with it. In spite of what people think of me, like I do like to have fun. I am a fun person. Sorry to destroy anyone's image, but I enjoyed working on this song. I had a lot of fun doing it. And the reason it came to be is because back in the day, Yule Prague 2, which would have put us all the way back in like 2008, I believe, we actually did a 2-day Yule Prague event, the only time we ever did that. And the first night was the Yule Prague Battle. And we did have, I think, the Presence and Masai, I think, performed that night. And then we had a bunch of other people perform the next night. But we did the battle. I won't get into too much detail about that night, but just because it's trying to keep this video short. But Chaz Kangas won the battle. And the prize for the battle was $100 cash, which was paid on time that night. That was fine. And a digital single on Uncommon Records. And here we are in 2025, and I have finally made due on something from over 10 years ago, probably well over 10 years ago. And we actually worked on and off on this for a while. Again, like life happens and things come up. Sometimes good things that distract you, sometimes bad things that distract you. But, we worked on this song together and got it made. And it's just remarkable to me. I love fulfilling, I won't say fulfilling promises because it wasn't that big of a deal, but like I love fulfilling the circle of like things that you dedicate yourself to doing artistically and like actually coming through, no matter how long. It's never too late. It's never too late to do the right thing. That's an old cliche, but it's never too late to finish something or to do something or to start something. And I'm really pumped about it. It's on the Bandcamp right now. January 23rd is when it's going to be on all the rest of the streaming services. I wanted to get it out in some way in time for that Yule Prague time of year, but life kind of made it hard to get the full digital release in December. But yeah, January 23rd is when you'll be able to hear it on all streaming services. But go right now to the Bandcamp and listen to it and download it for a couple bucks. The instrumental and the acapella is available on Bandcamp. When it hits streaming, it's just going to be the main version, the original version and the instrumental. So if you want the acapella, do your own remixing, do some sampling, whatever, go to the Bandcamp, and then the streaming will be there in January. That completes our 2025 release roster. What I really want to get into is we talked a lot about digital singles this year. And so next year, the first release we're going to do is a compilation called Growing Legacy. Artwork is done. I will show that here. Shout out to Dirty Design, Antonio DiPietro, who did this artwork. The cover painting that you're looking at is by an amazing independent artist from here on Staten Island named Lisa Dahl, who me and my wife have been a fan of for many years. There's a lot of her pieces scattered around the house here, or the apartment here. When it came to Growing Legacy, I was, I knew I wanted fine art on the cover. I wanted to have a certain look. I started thinking about some of the artists that I'm inspired by on Instagram, And I just came back to like, well, why would I not reach out to Lisa and see if she'd be interested in doing this? And she was. And, you know, this is an existing piece that, you know, she graciously, you know, came to agreement for letting me use on the cover art of this album. And I'm so happy for the way that this looks and feels. You know, a lot of the digital singles, they will find their way onto a physical release for the first time. That includes the Origin Stories remix, the Rust remix, Do You Love from 2024, Casper Ghostly's single Floor 13. It includes one of the songs, Beetroot, from Art of the Covenant, which came out from Masai Bay in 2024. Also, one of the songs from The Other Others, which was my side project with Samurai Banana from 2024. We'll put Werewolves on there. And you might be saying, okay, great, like we've already heard all those songs, now they're on CD, but it doesn't stop there. That's 6 of the 14 songs that are going to be on this compilation. So there are 8 more unreleased songs that are going to be on the compilation that you'll hear for the first time. So I'm really excited about it. There are several appearances from everyone whose names you see on this cover. I'm really amped to put out something that represents all of us. As corny as that sounds, it's just really easy for me to throw my energy and my weight behind something that, you know, I know that everybody's got a piece of. You know, it's not just me, it's not just me and one other person, it's not just me and 2 other people, it's like all of us. It's a whole label with a great release that, in my mind, you know, hopefully I've accomplished it being cohesive and all that kind of stuff. There's going to be some liner notes and some cool artwork things, and maybe, just maybe I'll do vinyl for this compilation. If you would like to see vinyl for this compilation, you know what to do. Leave a comment in this video. First of all, I'm going to know that you watched the whole video because I didn't mention it until now. But second of all, I want to hear that feedback. In general, like, how do you feel about us doing vinyl? You know, we had to take a step back from vinyl just because the reality of the music industry is the reality of the music industry. It is hard to, you know, afford quality vinyl. Like, I'm not going to sell you, and no offense to anyone that does, truly, like, do your thing, but, like, I'm not selling you a lathe cut. Like, I'm not going to sell you something that you get fingerprints on and it doesn't work, like, you know, 10 plays later. I'm not going to sell you something that has no artwork, you know, just to get something on vinyl. Like, I'm not running a vanity project here. And again, like, I get that I sound like a dick when I say these things, because I know a lot of people do this. But that's my background of my era and how, you know, people my age that came up in hip hop would see those sorts of projects. If you're younger, or if you just weren't part of the scene at that time, or if you just don't give a fuck about the rules, go for it. Do whatever the fuck you want to do. But for me, like, doing vinyl means getting X amount of copies to have available for a prolonged amount of time, and for it to be full color and as beautiful as possible and as good as we can represent it. And if I can't do that, I'm not going to do it. I feel like maybe we're inching back. Maybe me personally is inching back at being comfortable with laying out some money for vinyl. And I'd like it to start with this Growing Legacy compilation. Please let me know what you think, again, in the comments. Either way, it will definitely be in a CD. The CD artwork is finished. It's ready to go send off to the plant. I'm doing some mastering on the final version of it. And then it is off and getting pressed and being ready for release, hopefully in February. And yeah, you'll hear some singles from it ahead of time. We're doing everything that we can to fulfill our little artistic hearts and fill anyone else with joy about hearing from what we're doing. We're not gone. We haven't gone anywhere just because person X or person Y doesn't pay attention to us or whatever. Like, we are here together and we're doing this, and that's all that really fucking matters. So subscribe to Uncommon Records NYC on YouTube. If you're interested at all in me yapping about other topics, go over to Uncommon NASA Official on YouTube. That's a different channel where I talk about other things somewhat related to music. And have a great new year in 2026. I hope things go better for you if they didn't go well. I hope things go as well if they did go well. And peace, y'all.